There's also photographs that I don't believe have been made public yet that show on the lunar surface what appear to be large monolithic structures with right angle cuts that appear to be on the lunar surface. And I believe those photographs, if they have not been released yet, may be released soon. But they are certainly very intriguing looking at these objects from space.
The moon was brought here 12,000 years ago. Our moon is in fact an artificial satellite. It is not a real planet. It can literally leave our orbit underneath its own power. According to the Andromedans, it was brought here from Ursa Minor, from a star system called Chalta that had 21 planets in it. It belonged to the 17th planet and it was one of 4 moons. Now, there are ruins all over it. The map is there. There are some pictures there. There's a lot more, which I don't have today. But it will be coming out. This is why the Apollo astronauts stopped going back. It's because there was somebody already there and they were told not to go back. This information is out there. Okay, our moon is 9.1 billion years old. It's in fact older than the Earth. Okay, it is many of the materials that have been found on the moon, minerals, don't exist on our planet. The moon did not belong to part of the Earth. It was brought here. Our solar system has 8 artificial moons in it that were brought here. Can literally, underneath their own power, leave our solar system. And there are beings living upper echelon, the world government know this. They've known it for a very long time, but they didn't want us to know because of the element of power. And we'll discuss this for off and on for many hundreds of millions of years. The first race to actually chart our planet was a group from Alpha Draconis. They are reptilian beings. They're anywhere from 7 feet to 22 feet tall. It can weigh up to 1,800 pounds. And they don't like human beings. Not here, not anywhere. Very first to chart it. They were also the very first to actually have a small colony here 809 million years ago. Or places that was colonized on the planet is North America, what we now call the United States. 1,833 of these reptilians still existing inside the planet. They have lived here for thousands of years. They live thousands of years. Their bodies are not like ours. 100 to 200 miles beneath the surface. This is where they are. And it's all over. The planet is honeycombed with tunnels and caverns. Approximately 18,000 what we know as grays from underneath the surface of the planet and the moon. It originally came from Zeta Reticuli 2. I'm giving you the Andromedan perspective. I'm not here to challenge anybody else's information. I'm here to tell you their perspective. The grays came from Zeta Reticuli 2. They left there 892,000 years ago. They got trapped in a war called the Orion War, which lasted 600,000 years. The galactic war between reptilian forces and human beings. What happened was they were captured by a group in Orion, the constellation of Orion, which is Rigel, Valtrax, Ursa Major, Ursa Minor. They were genetically altered there. Many of the females of their species were killed. So they could not reproduce, so they could control the race. They also genetically altered them so that their sexual organs would become atrophied, and eventually they just wouldn't be there because they weren't being used. Now, the Greys, at the same time this was going on, decided that the emotional part of themselves, of their personality, was their weakest link. So they literally bred or thought out the emotional part of their bodies, of their character. Which is why they have no emotion. They're robots. Today, there are approximately 2,100 actual grays, actual physical grays that have a soul, that are part of the original race, the lineage of the original race in our solar system. All the rest, virtually every single one that are doing the abductions on people, are clones. They're robots. They don't have an essence, they don't have a soul in them. They're robots. Does everybody follow me so far? Okay. The Greys have a problem. They're dying. This is why they basically are here. Now we, as a planetary race, offer them a great opportunity to possibly save their race.
And I will testify under oath before Congress that what I'm saying is the truth. My boss came to me. I was working in a color lab at that time. I was a technician, photographic technician. I was asked to go over to this facility on Langley Air Force Base where the NSA was bringing in the information from the lunar orbiter. And so I packed up some tools. I went over. I went into the facility. A couple of officers took me into this hangar. It was a very large hangar. So they took me into this laboratory. I took a look at the equipment. There was an airman second class in there. I was an airman second class as well. He turned the equipment on and put it through its paces. It didn't do what it was supposed to do. I saw what was going on with it. And I said to him, we'll have to take this thing out of the lab if we're going to work on it. We can't work on it in here in the darkroom environment. So everyone left the facility, left the darkroom, except this airman second class and myself. And we're in waiting for someone to come to remove this piece of equipment. And at the time, I didn't know what the real purpose of this darkroom and this operation in this facility was. I thought this was where they were bringing the data in and then releasing the images to the public. They were doing 35mm strips of film at that time, which were then assembled into 18.5 by 11-inch mosaics, they were called. There was a digital signature and a grayscale on every 35mm strip. And those strips were from successive passes around the moon. So he was showing me how all this worked, and we walked over to one side of the lab, and he said, by the way, we've discovered a base on the back side of the moon. And I said, whose? What do you mean, whose? He said, yes, we've discovered a base on the back side of the moon. And at that point, I became frightened, and I was a little terrified, thinking to myself that if anybody walks in the room now, I know we're in jeopardy, we're in trouble, because he shouldn't be giving me this information. And then he pulled out one of these mosaics and showed this base, which had geometric shapes. There were towers, there were spherical buildings, there were very tall towers, and things that looked somewhat like radar dishes, but they were large structures. If I compare it to what I'm seeing now, because I do have photographs that have artifacts in them that are similar to what I saw, they're massive. Some of the structures are, half a mile in size. So they're huge structures. Some of the buildings seem to have very reflective surfaces on them. A couple of structures that I saw reminded me of cooling towers at power generating plants. They had that sort of a shape. Some of them were just very, very straight and tall with a flat top. Some of them were round. Some of them looked like a Quonset hut, with a domed kind of, like a greenhouse. The particular shot that I saw, there were several clustered together over a landscape, a fairly large landscape. I didn't want to look at it any longer than that because I felt that my life was in jeopardy. Do you understand what I'm saying? I would love to have looked at it longer. I would have loved to have had copies. I would love to have, said more about it or discussed it more, but I knew I couldn't. And I knew that young fellow who was sharing this was really, really overstepping his bounds at that point.
In March 1948, A shocking event occurred near Aztec, New Mexico, when a large UFO was reported to have crashed and buried itself in the ground. This incident quickly drew the attention of authorities, the media, and the curious public. According to reports, the crash happened on a quiet morning. Local residents witnessed a large glowing object moving at high speed before crashing into the ground. The loud explosion and bright flash of light disrupted the entire area. Shortly after, a rescue team and experts were dispatched to the scene to investigate the incident. As the excavation began, they discovered a disc-shaped object with a diameter of approximately 30 meters, partially buried in the dirt and sand. The object had a shiny metallic surface that seemed unaffected by time or environmental factors. This added to the mystery and anticipation of the investigators. During the excavation process, the team found signs indicating the presence of non-human entities inside the UFO. When they opened it, they discovered alien bodies. These beings were smaller than humans, with gray skin and large eyes. This sight astonished and frightened everyone present at the scene. The alien bodies were collected and taken to laboratories for further study. However, information about the event was quickly classified, becoming one of the biggest UFO mysteries in history. Many believe the government covered up the truth about the UFO discovery and the alien bodies to avoid public panic. Despite the passage of many years, the 1948 Aztec incident remains one of the most controversial and talked about UFO stories. It not only sparked curiosity about the existence of extraterrestrial life, but also ignited interest in researching unexplained phenomena. With the traces and evidence left behind, this event continues to be a captivating topic for those fascinated by the mysteries of the universe.
Ladies and gentlemen, angry astronauts, strap in because the UAP conversation just got a lot more interesting and a hell of a lot more dangerous. Just days ago, CNN dropped an exclusive that has the entire defense and intelligence community buzzing. A U.S. F-15E Strike Eagle pilot shot down over Iran in April of this year, told to briefers that he saw something straight out of a sci-fi nightmare right before he punched out. Multiple Iranian drones hovering and moving as one, and in a formation that looked exactly like a jellyfish, with bigger drones on top, smaller ones dangling below like tentacles or legs. One source familiar with the pilot's account called it real alien shit, and another described it as a minefield of drones in the sky. The pilot was rescued hours later by special forces. His weapons systems officer evaded capture in the Zagros Mountains for over a day in one of the most complex combat search and rescue ops in recent history. But it's what the pilot saw in those final moments that has everyone rethinking everything. And here's where it gets wild for us in the UAP community. This description is eerily similar to the infamous jellyfish UAP that Jeremy Corbell released back in early 2024 that you're watching right now, the one filmed over a U.S. military base in Iraq around 2017 to 2018. These events were close enough geographically and in spirit. It was a forward operating base in the Middle East conflict zone. But the key point still stands. What if these Iranian jellyfish drones aren't Iranian at all? What if the same phenomenon that spooked troops over that base years ago just took down or helped take down an American F-15? Today we're going deep. We're separating fact from speculation, official narratives from eyewitness accounts, and we're asking the question the Pentagon and Aero probably don't want us asking. What if they shot him down?